the insurance industry has really done sort of a lousy job of embracing technology. And when it did begin to embrace technology, it started off just simply figuring out, well, how do we use technology to make more money? And still today, many insurance carriers just look at technology in that way. How do we reduce our expense ratio? Not for the purposes of, by the way, reducing the premium or anything that actually helps the customer, just as a way of making more money. Hi, this is Ty Sagalow, co-founder and chief insurance officer of Surely, and this is the future of insurance.
Ty, it is fantastic to sit down with you. I told you before we recorded, I've been hoping to do this for a while. So when the Surely team reached out, I was like, yeah, that's an easy yes. I would love to have him on the show. So it's great to get your brain in the show today.
Thank you, Brian. I've been a big fan of yours as well for many years.
We've been at the same conferences. I should have like forced us to run into each other and get it over with. But here we are, virtually at least, and we'll have to do in person soon. But for those who don't know, which there might be like 6 people, and that's probably it. But who are you? Give us a little bit of your backstory, and then I want to dig into Surely.
Sure. So I've been in insurance for, oh my God, I think 40 years or something like that. 25 at AIG and Zurich, mostly, 25 at AIG, traditional, insurance. I was a chief underwriting officer there, chief operating officer, general counsel, chief innovation officer there of various parts of the AIG organization, nationwide and worldwide. My last job was chief innovation officer of AIG on a worldwide basis. Then I was chief innovation officer at Zurich and Towers. And then after those jobs, I got hit with the insurtech bug. Yeah. And helped 2 really brilliant individuals out of Israel, Daniel Schreiber and Shai Wittinger, create a company called Lemonade. So I was privileged enough to be a founding member, employee number 3 of Lemonade and the CEO of Lemonade Insurance Company. I did that for a few years and then went on to search for my post-Lemonade life and created a really fabulous company called Surely with my co-founder, David Carpentier. And then I have a few other adventures.
Yeah. Well, so David actually, not intentionally, I don't think, but just came up in another conversation with the insurtech ATX, the Austin guys.
Yeah.
Because just did an event down there, which apparently was, they were raving about working with him and the idea. So we've been building up to you coming on to talk about Surely, but give us a sense of Surely if you don't mind. So what is it you're building?
So Surely is really the next chapter in sort of this long road that I and many people have been on in the insurance industry. And it started with sort of understanding the gap that was created between how society has advanced technologically and how the insurance industry, surprising no one, has not caught up with those technology advances.
Sure.
And the insurance industry has really done sort of a lousy job of embracing technology. And when it did begin to embrace technology, it started off just simply figuring out, well, how do we use technology to make more money?
Yeah.
And still today, many insurance carriers just look at technology in that way. How do we reduce our expense ratio? Not for the purposes of, by the way, reducing the premium or anything that actually helps the customer, just as a way of making more money. And Lemonade really, in many ways, was an evolution or a revolution in the idea of using technology to create a sweet and delightful experience for the customer and being truly customer focused, and was a tech company that happened to be in the business of insurance and was largely credited, I think correctly so, in creating the insurtech phenomenon in 2015. Surely, in many ways, takes it to the next level by embedding insurance, which is a $1 trillion industry. And we'll talk a little about that later, what we call insurance as a service.
So there's a number of things to unpack in that. I definitely want to get into embedded. It's something I've been talking about a lot. And what I'm curious about, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot about Lemonade. You're not here to speak for them, but it's one thing I've struggled with is understanding what's the material advantage. So there are a number of things Lemonade does very well, but as a carrier, not a secret, public company, the performance from a carrier standpoint has still not proven out. And, you could argue it still needs more time. You could argue it's had enough time. There's people on both sides of that fence. But when you start talking about embedded and you start talking about sort of taking that evolution of using technologies to the next level, does that solve for some of those inherent issues that, and I don't like lumping all insurtechs together and saying they're all bad at underwriting, because I don't think that's true or fair, but there are some who are better than others. Does that start to put the underwriting front and center as well as the tech? Because you can't just have one or just the other. We end up in these two extremes, carriers who aren't embracing tech in the right way, tech companies who maybe aren't performing as underwriters. Is this you sort of seeing the two coming together?
I do, and there are so many lessons for the insurtech industry, and there's certainly, like all growing companies, Lemonade, as many as others, it's a continual progress. God is not finished with any of us yet.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was most proud about Lemonade when I became first part of it, and something that many insurtech companies don't understand, and one that I think surely understands quite well, is that insurtech has two parts of it, right? Insurance and tech knowledge. And Lemonade chose to have employee number 3 as a guy that knew a lot about insurance. Surely had two co-founders, both of whom knew a lot about insurance.
Yeah.
And at least knew something about technology. Carp knows a lot about technology, and I know a little bit about technology.
Yeah.
So it's important that you have an insurtech company that is deeply knowledgeable in both insurance and technology. Surely today we have over half of our employees that are on, quote, the tech side.
Yeah.
And then we have quite a number that are on the insurance side. So it's important that you sort of make money for what you do as a living. Surely has both a broker's division and an MGA division.
Yeah.
In the MGA division, it is especially important to operate at an underwriting profit.
Yeah.
And we take that job very, very seriously. Our carrier partners, we have now a number of them, have never lost money. On the other hand, we are customer focused, and we use technology to, if I can use a Lemonade phrase, create a sweet and delightful experience for our customers by trying to be invisible.
Yeah.
Frankly, to the extent that we can, which gets into the issue of embedded insurance, is what we call the easy pass experience. And I explain what I mean by that.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear more about that. And I do think people who are trying to improve the insurance customer experience, but still have there be a customer experience, it's almost like, what if you didn't have to do that at all? Instead of just rounding the edges on things and polishing it up, what if there was nothing to polish around the edges on and it just existed and someone did? Like, that's delightful too. But I think we get stuck in this notion that for something to be delightful, it has to be apparent. But sometimes the lack of that thing can be even more delightful.
I couldn't have said it better, Brian. That's exactly right. I mean, embedded insurance today, what we call insurance as a service, is a $3 trillion market. I mean, it's huge. And again, look at Easy Pass. Look what society has done. All you want to do is go on a road and just get to where you're going. I'm next week, my wife and I are going to take a trip to Florida, and I live in New Jersey, right?
It's a long ride.
It's a long ride, and we decided, you know what, we're going to jump in a car. It'll be fun. It'll be a road trip, right?
Yeah.
And all we want to do is just jump in the car and go down to Florida and take a long road trip. Now, along the way, there's going to be a lot of tolls.
Yeah.
We understand that there's got to be tolls because there's got to be a way of maintaining the roads, and there's, like, you know, taxes and whatnot to maintain the roads. And that's fine. But we don't want to stop. In the old days, right? You had to stop. You had to roll down your window. You had to say hello to someone. You had to give them money. They had to give you a receipt. You had to interrupt your commercial journey.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Then they improved it. They got rid of the people, but you still had to stop. You had to take change out of your pocket.
Throw it in the basket.
In the basket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you got to wait for the basket to churn the change and acknowledge that you threw in enough money.
Yeah.
And then the thing would go up and you would go through.
Yeah.
Then they approved that. They had an easy pass. You didn't have to throw in money anymore, but you still had to stop.
Right.
Easy pass had to acknowledge that you were there. Thing had to come up. Then you had to go through. But what is easy pass today? In the best case scenario, it's above the road.
Yeah.
You don't even have to look at it. You don't even have to slow down.
Yeah.
You are simply going through your travel, going through your commercial journey from here to there. And with exactly what you said, Brian, magically, it just happens. You pay your toll. That's what insurance should be. It should simply be embedded in the commercial experience. Lemonade did a fabulous job of making the insurance application easy, quick, sweet, and delightful.
Yeah.
Surely does is take that one step further. There is no application.
Right.
There is nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
It's easy pass. The insurance, which you need to make your life safe, is simply embedded within your commercial journey.
Ty, so I worked at Hiscox for a number of years, and we were it was an amazing company. I was there. I loved my time there. Great people. And one of the things that stood out to me, I also used to work at Beasley as a competitor of Hiscox. And so I always said, if I went back in time and told myself that I went to Hiscox, I might punch myself in the face, but it all worked out. One of the things we did at the time, pre-Next and other, commercial insurtech direct plays, we were direct. We also had a broker business, but we were the only direct players. And people kept saying, any minute now, you're going to have all these other carriers who compete with you. And, Travelers bought Simply Business and they were going to come in, but they didn't. And what I kept saying is, for an existing player who has a wealth of distribution relationships, to turn on direct and create channel conflict like that is a real risk. Like, all those Travelers or Hartford agents would say, well, we're not going to place with you, billions of dollars gone. For Hiscox, we were very small when we turned on the direct business, tens of millions. If that all went away, that's too bad, but that's not why we came to the US. There was a bigger prize, so we could take that risk. When I think about embedded, and I think about the disappearance of the insurance purchase, and by extension, the brand in many cases, it's hard for me to fathom a Geico or Progressive or someone who's spending, over $1 billion a year on branding to just embrace that, because it's like, well, we've spent all this money to build ourselves into something to have that process. Do you see that as true, that it's very hard for someone who's existing in this market and has built their brand to be willing to disappear, so to speak, from the equation? Or are there ways for the brand to still stay front and center, even if the experience is gone?
So this is something that, everyone that has been in large corporate insurers has struggled with. When I was at AIG, we struggled with this a great deal in looking at creating AIG Direct, for example.
Yeah, or the program business, because it's it might be the program brand name that sits and you don't even see who the underwriter is, perhaps.
And it is a huge, huge challenge.
Yeah.
When you're a large carrier and you have, hundreds of millions of dollars that go through Marsh, Aon, Willis, it is extremely difficult, extremely dangerous to create a direct play. You're going to have a lot of people that are very upset with you.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of carriers, frankly, almost everyone, decides that it's kind of not worth it, which makes room for innovation, makes room for evolution.
Yeah.
A couple of comments. If I was advising those big guys, I would say there are ways of doing it.
Yeah.
You can enter into partnerships with folks like a Shirley, and frankly other ways as well. And remember, you can buy, create, or partner, right?
Right.
And so partnerships can work very, very well. The other part of the equation, though, is what if you're a broker? So you're seeing this economic change of what is technology doing to the intermediary.
Yeah.
Think travel agents. Remember the day when if you wanted a train ticket on Amtrak?
Yeah.
I don't know, you may be too young to remember this.
No, I
But
went
there
and,
was
yeah.
there was a time,
Yeah. And they had a
that
green screen and
right? That
yeah.
if you that if you
Yeah.
needed a train ticket, forget about an airline ticket. You
Yeah.
needed a train ticket to Amtrak. You had to go to a travel agent and they would print out the train ticket.
Yeah. You better not lose it.
And you better not use it. They would give a nice little folder and everything. It would be plastic with the name of, Liberty Travel on it and whatnot. Well, those people don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
They haven't existed for decades. What happened to the travel agency business? Most of them went out of business because they didn't understand that technology was changing what they do for a living so much that if they didn't rethink the business that they were in,
Yeah.
they would be out of business. But some of them did. Some of them realized that it wasn't a travel insurance, it wasn't a travel broker's business that was being eliminated. It was just their old business model.
Yeah.
And if they changed their business model, there was still a business to be had. And some of them are still around.
Yeah.
That is the phenomenon that technology has had for centuries.
Yeah.
And so, yes, certain intermediaries within the insurance business are at risk because of the use of technology, included embedded technology.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're out of business. That means they have to rethink their business model.
Yeah. Well, so you have a broker side and an MGA side. How do those two work in an embedded context, or is not everything embedded?
Well, they work hand in hand. In many ways, one feeds the other, right?
Yeah.
So Assurely creates new insurance products that either doesn't exist, or we change insurance products in ways that don't exist. So for example, we have D&O insurance for crowdfunding. Now, D&O insurance has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding is only several years old, and we have embedded that crowdfunding in some that D&O insurance rather in some crowdfunding portals. We also can go direct to the consumer when they file an SEC filing and provide D&O insurance direct that way, or they can come to us.
Yeah.
In addition to that, sometimes we get ideas through our brokers channel, and there may be some solution in the marketplace that we begin to offer. But as we get to know the customer more and more, it may translate into an enhanced product or a slightly new product that is not available in the marketplace that we then create.
Yeah.
And we then pitch that to our carrier partners, whether at target markets or other places, and that becomes an MGA product.
Got it.
So we think the business model, which we didn't invent, by the way, although there aren't, not everyone has both sides of the house, so to speak, works very, very well and good for the customer.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me because when I was growing up in the industry and exposure to the program space and target markets and the MGA world, an MGA was a broker with a pen. and they were creating a product for a specific niche, usually, or a group, or an affinity relationship, and they had the carriers backing it. And today, I was talking to someone the other day and said MGA, and they're like, "Oh, so it's like an insurtech startup that's going to become a carrier." I'm like, "Well, that's something you can do with an MGA, and that's what front and center in the news you'll hear about more." But it meant something else before, and it still means that in a lot of cases. It's almost like you're in both kind of definitions of the MGA world, where it's almost a program solution, but you're thinking about the distribution of it like a modern MGA built insurtech would. The sort of when people say insurer, and it isn't really, it's an MGA, and they just haven't put up their own capital yet. You're sort of fitting into both buckets, the traditional MGA definition and this new one, which is interesting to me.
Yes, that's exactly right. And all our MGA business is insurtech. So there's a technology component in all of our programs, and there's an embedded insurance component in all of our programs. So, our tagline is insurance for innovators. So you're not going to see, probably not, I hate to say never, because but you're probably not going to see a surely develop a program that Brown and Brown is going to develop. Right? We're not going to do commercial auto trucking for Ohio. There's a lot of people that sort of do that. I mean, we might find a twist that nobody else does, but if that's going to happen, it's going to be a new type of telematics that just hit the market.
Yeah. Or I was thinking like autonomous trucks.
Yeah.
Something very different.
I'll call Elon, he'll tell me.
I mean, that's a totally different kind of solution, really. I think that's fascinating. And so you're also not talking about spaces that are the typical places when we think insurtech, insurer, and I use the term loosely, whether it's their own capital and paper or they're renting it from someone else as an MGA. You mentioned D&O. I don't hear people talking about that generally, one or two exceptions. What are some of the other lines of coverage that you're getting into?
So in addition to D&O, we have a couple of products in the real estate space. Security deposit replacement in both residential and commercial, which is a niche area. But again, we're embedding ourselves into leases. We're embedding ourselves in commercial lending platforms. So again, everything is sort of embedded in somewhere else. It's all direct. And another embedding we did, and you'll see the variety of it, right? Is that we have insurance embedded in a sneaker collectible website. It's called Unbox. It's a fabulous website. Yeah. And if you're sneakerheads, I'm not a sneakerhead, but if you know sneakerheads, it's a wonderful thing to be. And so you go on Unbox, right? And they manage, your sneaker collection, and they give you the valuation of it and the authentication of it, and they keep you up to date, and they help you with resell, and automatically as a member, you get insurance. It's embedded. You don't have to do anything. That's us.
That's really interesting. I have a sneakerhead in my extended family, and so now I'm going to ask him if he's in there and whether he knows there's insurance, and if not, he probably would want it because I know he cares about his sneakers very much. I want to ask you about where things are going, but something else from the past. You also wrote a book, and tell us a little bit more about that, because it's a journey I think so many people are curious about, and to hear it firsthand is fascinating.
Oh, thank you. I almost forgot to make a pitch for my book. See how bad I am. My publisher would kill me. Yeah, so it's a small little book. It's called The Making of Lemonade. You can, it's available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, and it's about 2 hours. And it's really you can read it in 2 hours. It's an origin story of the first 2 years of Lemonade, and it's great for folks that are obviously interested in insurance, but more importantly, it's sort of fun for people that are interested in learning about what it is to create a startup, whether it's insurance or anything else.
Yeah. Daniel put out for the 5-year birthday anniversary, I don't know which way to refer to it, like a blog piece kind of recounting things. and obviously much faster read and much less detail, but I was like, this is really interesting. And I had, some folks starting businesses, even outside of insurance, is like, just have a read. I think to get some more detail on these things, whether you want to do the same thing or not, whether you're doing it in another industry, there's a ton to take from it. And obviously it's one that's had a lot of public eyes on it. There's so much more to see that, you can catch on the inside. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And you mentioned Amazon, which I think we want to talk about the future, and no one ever talks about where the industry's going without mentioning Amazon and the Amazonification of things. So, Ty, where is this all going? Do you think, I put out a piece on embedded. I think it has a very strong future. Some people feel very much the opposite. Is embedded what you see as the future of this industry? Are there other things brewing that just maybe haven't gotten their chance yet, or the industry needs to move on more before we're ready for it? Where do you see things changing for the industry?
There's a number of things that are changing in the industry, although there is connecting themes. Certainly in embedded is one of it. The standard line is, folks will say to me, what do you think they'll call insurtech in 10 years, or what do you think insurtech will be in 10 years? And my answer is always, what they'll call insurtech in 10 years is insurance.
Yeah.
So insurtech will disappear in 10 years because it will simply be insurance.
Yeah.
And embedded insurance is going to grow because that's where society is. Society is the Amazon experience.
Yeah.
Right? People are used to one-click experiences.
Yeah.
They're used to it. They expect it. That's how the world should be. That was one of the first major recognitions, by Lemonade.
Yeah.
And so the use of technology in insurance, the use of technology in society, and embedded insurance, or what we simply call insurance as a service,
yeah,
is not going to go away.
Do you think something else will be called insurtech then? So it's like what was insurtech today graduates to just being normal, and there's some new generation of change going on? Or do you mean that full stop, that the delineation sort of between this is like a special forward-looking thing that's changing and the regular market will dissolve and everything will be more forward-thinking and tech savvy?
As long as one believes in the human spirit and human creativity and innovation, there will always be something new. And thank God for that.
I don't want to say anything else. I think that's a fantastic ending note for us. Ty, thank you so much for the time. It's really interesting. I mean, to find out more about what Assurely is doing, but given all the things that you've done, been a part of in the industry, your perspective on what's going on is invaluable. Thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Thank you, Brian. It was good talking to you.
As a legend, right? Getting time to sit down with Ty is huge. And you think about the things that he's been a part of, the carriers, the new creations, things that he has seen and is seeing right now that they're creating at Assurely. It's fantastic to pick his brain, to hear from his perspective. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And I think he is absolutely right. Embedded is actually massive today. It's very much a buzzword and people are talking about whether and if it will do something, but they're missing the fact that it already is. It's a huge part of the insurance distribution world today. And I think it's really interesting the way Assurely is looking at inserting insurance into existing moments of consumption or experiences or need to try to, more simply meet those needs and not just put a cash or change catching basket on a toll booth, but take them away completely. Why are you stopping at all? You can still pay your toll. So, rethinking that. And I think it's something we probably all have these things in our day-to-day lives, in our business that we think we can make better. And we do, we make them better. We lean them up a bit, but we might be missing the idea that they don't need to exist at all. And what if we just didn't have that stop on our journey and just move things through totally different way of looking at improving the situation. What if you removed it in the first place? Fascinating conversation, fascinating guy. His book is really cool to hear that insider's take on the first couple of years at Lemonade. Love them, hate them, unsure, don't work in that space, work in that space, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of value in that. Incumbent folks, startup folks, doesn't matter. It's fascinating, and it can teach you something about how you're going about your business, how you're engaging, the struggles you face, how to get through them. It's all really good stuff. And that's obviously the notion of all these things that I put out. And so I'm biased in thinking that Ty's book would be good, but I think we need to learn from everything going on around us, whether it's a direct fit or not. And the more we engage in that, the more our minds open up. We challenge ourselves, we challenge those around us, the industry, and we all do better. So with that, I hope you engaged in this show and it was really valuable for you. You engage in the others, you engage in the rest of the content that's out there, you engage in the opportunity to push yourselves and this industry forward for those we're here to protect. I will see you all back next time. Thanks so much.